So, we're in the new year and we're still trying to be victoriously outspoken. We know we could be outspoken. We know we could say all kind of things, and if we did say all kind of things, we have no idea how it would affect us, how many times we would have to eat crow, what we would have to come back and fix, what bridges we would burn, what people we would hurt. We have no clue. And so that's why our goal, our mission is to be victoriously outspoken. Now, don't get me wrong. When you start to speak your mind and when you start to speak up and you start to express yourself, you're going to lose people. There are people that, there are some people who can only be with you if they agree with everything. Personally, I love friends that we have similarities, we have things we agree on, and then we have things that we discuss, debate, disagree, laugh, everything. I like full circle, a full friendship. I don't like people that just want to go along with me. I like somebody who doesn't mind speaking up. I'm vocal. I need somebody who will say, hey, wait a minute, listen to me. I wasn't through talking. They don't have to be just like me or anything, but I want to make sure that I have people around me that will say something. I remember, and I had a period of time, which is one of the other reasons I started doing Victoriously Outspoken. There was a period in my life where I was really sinking. I mean, it seemed like it lasted forever. And there were people around me, and they just did not have the honest conversations with me. I remember one specific time that I called a council of 3 people together, and I called a fourth on the phone, people that I felt were close to me, and I said, hey, I need you guys to tell me and be honest with me and be straight up because something is wrong. And I'm just going to be transparent, I was going from job to job. I would land a good job. It started off great. It didn't always work out. I mean, now don't get me wrong. I have always been an entrepreneur, and I knew that. And I know some people will tell you, oh, if you can't stay on a job, you meant to be on your own. That's another video, because you have to be a good follower before you can be a good leader, and an entrepreneur is a leader. So I knew that I needed something. I didn't know exactly what, and I knew at that time I was frustrating my husband. I was making things hard. I knew all of that, but I didn't know exactly what I was doing wrong, because whenever I would talk about my day or talk to my friends, nobody was saying anything. So I wanted to look them in the eye and say, look, be straightforward with me. One person said nothing. And then on her way home, she called me and said, and had a very vague conversation with me that I'm good and people don't understand me or whatever. Now, why she couldn't say that in front of the other people? Because remember, I called the council together and I told them you can say whatever you need to up front. There was only one person in that group who said, Kim, this is what you need to do, and that's my cousin. And to this day, our younger cousins laugh because they always ask us, do we have friends other than each other? And I never forget that, because she was straight up with me and she gave me a lot of advice, and she followed up with me after that. But what I noticed was that I had people around who would not be honest. Now, sometimes people cannot be honest because they're not honest with themselves. And sometimes people are not honest because being honest with you means that you will ascend or grow or become something that they no longer can touch or have access to. And I remember that day. I never forget that day. And it wasn't long before those other people who would not speak up, we became distant, or the relationship changed. In one case, it became more of, I became that person's caregiver, and we buried her a few years later. And then in the other case, we drifted apart, and the same thing. I buried her, I wasn't there, but she died later. But my point is, you always want to be able to, you want people to take your word. When we talk about being victoriously outspoken, it means that you are able to speak. You are able to speak in victory. You're able to speak in honesty. Because if you can't be honest, you can't be victorious. And everything that is honest and right is not going to feel good. I don't know where we got off and where we missed it, but I missed it too. I remember, again, other times in my life where things were not going right, or no, I shouldn't say they weren't going right. Let me correct myself. They were not feeling good. Things were not feeling good in my life. Things were not looking beautiful. I didn't feel happy all the time. I didn't feel prosperous. I wasn't able to live or do the life that I thought, wanted, or shop like I wanted, or whatever you want to call it. And because it wasn't, I immediately thought something was wrong. If you are doing anything, I don't care what it is, you are going to have good, bad, and ugly happen to you. There are going to be good things that happen. There are going to be good days. There are going to be good times. There's going to be bad days, bad things, and bad times. And then there's going to be ugly things. Sometimes something is neither good nor bad. It's just ugly, or something that you just have to deal with, or something you really didn't want to address or handle, but it just happened. If you have to replace appliance or replace a car, it's not necessarily bad and it's not necessarily good. It's just part of life. It's ugly. And a lot of times, the timing is ugly. So I don't care who you are, you're going to have those cycles. You're going to have ups and downs. And just because we're having some down times doesn't mean that you're not growing, that you're not important, and that things are not happening well for you. We learn more when we go through the roughest times than we do when everything is going great. When everything is going great, you don't pay attention to what's going on because you're so busy in the moment laughing and enjoying it. It's when you hit those rough times that you start to really think and settle and sit back. So those times are not always bad because it makes you evaluate, it makes you reflect, it makes you think, and it makes you conscious about what you do. In those times, you got to be careful what you say. That's why, once again, the goal is to be victoriously outspoken. If you speak something permanent in a temporary state, you have no clue the motions and the wheels and the things that you set in motion as you speak those words. Everything that you go through doesn't require a stance. It doesn't require an explanation. It doesn't require a full evaluation. Sometimes you go through things and you got to get through them and you evaluate when you get on the other side. Or as you go through them, you're careful not to misspeak or not to say anything wrong. And then you learn and you document. But everything that you go through, you will not know exactly how to handle it. Just like every situation, you will not always know what to say. Being victoriously outspoken means also knowing when to talk and when not to talk. When to use your voice and when your voice is more of an action form or more of a silent form than it is vocal. It's been your girl, the Queen Bee. Because you cannot be an entrepreneur and not know how to use your voice. You've got to be able to speak up. You've got to know what crowd is your crowd to speak and what crowd is your crowd to listen. And then it's also been your Candid with Kim girl. I just want to see you win. And I want to make sure that you use the voice. God gave it to you for a reason. Bye-bye.